Hi everybody, welcome to Langer at the Mic with yours truly, Mike Langer. Since Sunday's video was so fun, I figured why not drop another video now while I'm off and before I work this weekend. I also want to give a huge shout out to We Habs. I was on their post-game show a couple of nights ago and the Habs lost to the Avalanche. You can check that out right here. Matt and Pat are some of my favorite people on hockey Twitter and in the Habs community, so definitely go subscribe to their We Habs channel. And I just want to thank them again for having me on the other night and for allowing me to practice my French. As for today's video, we're going to talk about goaltending because ever since it became clear that Carey Price was sadly not going to play this season and possibly ever again, the big question for the Montreal Canadiens became who would eventually replace him. Well, in Tuesday's win against the Pittsburgh Penguins, Sam Montembeault faced 40-plus shots for the 7th time this season, and in those 7 games, Montembeault has a .908 save percentage and a 4-3 record. Overall, Montembeault's numbers have not been great this season, but he's still been a huge difference maker in many games this year that the Montreal Canadiens should have lost, much to the dismay of those in favor of tanking. So that begs the question, could Sam Montembeault become that #1 goalie for the Montreal Canadiens, or is he just a feel-good story? Montembeault was selected in the 3rd round, 77th overall by the Florida Panthers in 2015. Then after spending most of his time in the Panthers organization with their AHL affiliate, he was placed on waivers at the beginning of the 2021-2022 season, where he was claimed by the Montreal Canadiens, bringing him back to his home province. And then he had to be a workhorse for the Habs during their miserable 2021-2022 season, posting an .891 save percentage and 3.77 goals against average in 38 games last year. In my opinion, facing 30 shots a game in those 38 games on a terrible Habs team last year allowed for Montembeault to develop tremendously. Because this year, although once again he's more of a 1B goaltender behind Jake Allen, Montembeault's arguably been the better goaltender between the two of them at many times this season, like in Tuesday's win against Pittsburgh. So first, let's talk about why Sam Montembeault could possibly be a #1 goalie. I mentioned Montembeault's stats before. He has a high goals against average, of course, but he's kept his save percentage in the 900s despite playing on a bottom 10 Habs team. Montembeault has shown that he could also handle heavy workloads in spurts, kind of like when Jake Allen got injured in January, where Montembeault made 8 straight starts from January 9 to 24, posting a 2.51 goals against average and .930 save percentage in those 8 games, despite a 4-4 record. I mentioned Montembeault faced 40-plus shots in 7 games this year. Well, Montembeault has faced 30-plus shots in 22 games this year, where he is 11-9-3 in those games with a .910 save percentage and 3.3 goals against average. Now, I'm not typically an advanced stats guy, but Montembeault has a quality start percentage over 57% this year, where quality starts are games where his save percentage is above the median save percentage for the NHL. And just to give you an idea, Montembeault is in the same range as Andrei Vasilevsky and Igor Shesterkin for that category. Montembeault is also 8th in goals saved above expected and 17th in goals saved above expected per 60 minutes, according to MoneyPuck.com. So what does this all mean? Of course, it's not always fair to look at goals against average for goalies on bad teams that give up a lot of goals that are usually for reasons outside the goalie's control. Which is why I think efficiency stats, record, and also the eye test do tell a little bit more of the story in Sam Montembeault's case. Because the #1 goalie on a bad team should be able to A, handle the workload of facing a lot of shots, B, stop over 90% of those shots, which C, gives his team the best chance to win. And Montembeault has pretty much checked all those boxes, holding his own while facing a lot of shots, keeping his save percentage in the 900s, and posting a mediocre but not terrible record of 13-3-3. So while Sam Montembeault will likely never be a Vezina Trophy winner or a Hart Trophy winner or a Jennings Trophy winner or a Ted Lindsay Award winner or a first team All-Star, he could possibly be good enough to be the Habs' #1 or at least 1A goaltender for the foreseeable future. Now let's talk about why Sam Montembeault is not a #1 goaltender. This side, of course, is a lot quicker and easier to argue. Starting with the fact that Montembeault isn't even a #1 goaltender in front of Jake Allen, who, like Montembeault, has had some strong moments this year, but overall hasn't had a great season either. Montembeault also gives up some softies, which has hurt the Montreal Canadiens in several games. And he has never played more than 41 games in a single AHL or NHL season, so it remains to be seen whether he could even handle the workload of a full NHL season as a #1 goaltender. In conclusion, while it will still be at least another year or two before the Habs could even think about contending, I think Montembeault has done enough to at least earn the opportunity to be the number one goaltender, or at the very least be the 1A goaltender over Jake Allen. Besides, Allen signed a 2-year extension through the 2024-2025 season, so unless he's traded, there's no reason really to force Montembeault to play more than 50 games. But Allen is also 32 years old and has been in the league for 11 years now, so chances are he's going to get worse before he gets better. While Montembeault is only 26 years old, and it does take a while for goaltenders to develop typically, so it's quite possible that Montembeault can still take his game to yet another level and become an even better goaltender than he is now, which is why I think it's important to give him the opportunity to show it. Also, like I said, along those lines, the Montreal Canadiens know what they have in Jake Allen, so I think it's really important that they find out exactly what they have in Sam Montembeault. Because Caden Primo, unfortunately, has not been consistent enough at the AHL level or the NHL level to prove that he can be the goaltender of the future, and none of the other Habs goaltending prospects have even signed their entry-level contracts yet. So ideally, Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon should put themselves in a position where they could have their goaltending position figured out by the time they're ready to contend, and part of that is seeing whether or not Sam Montembeault could handle the responsibilities of being a number one goaltender. Do you think Sam Montembeault has what it takes to be the Habs' number one goaltender? Let me know in the comments below. But if you enjoyed this video, as usual, hit like, hit subscribe, give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Mike Langer for both. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again next time.